John,
Yes, Yancy.
welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Wow, this is like second episode or something. This is one of the things that I've done in life that's the longest running.
Oh, wow.
We should try and aim for It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia level longevity. You know that sitcom?
No.
I've never seen an episode of it.
Okay.
Danny DeVito stars in it.
Oh.
I read about it, and it's one of those weird things that nobody knows about, but it's super popular and super long running.
Is it still running?
I think it is, yeah. I think it's still running. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Apparently the plot is just a bunch of self-centered individuals trying to connive and stab each other in the back. Any case, which makes for fantastic viewing, I suppose, because it sounds very much like real life to me.
Oh. Is it a comedy?
Yeah, it's like a sitcom.
Okay.
Sitcom, but it's not the canned laughter American sitcom type thing. Ha 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 ha. It's just because sitcoms aren't like that anymore. I remember growing up with that stuff in my ears. Just laughter all the time, all the flipping time. Drove me to depression. All of this laughter, but I'm okay now. Well, my psychologist would disagree, but I suspect it's because she is making a lot of money off of me. I'm getting depressed, so let's maybe move on to happier topics like World War. And so, any case,
Yeah.
I'll get that right one day. Welcome back to another episode of
Brit and
Boer. Today, I want to ask the question, John, how fast do you think a politician with a bullet in his side can run, looking back over his shoulder to see when the next one is coming? How fast do you think you're a politician of some sorts,
anti-politician.
You're an anti-politician. You're an anti-politician political figure. Okay, you know the game of politics. You know how people think. You have a distinctly Christian flavor of things. Also very pro UK, Alfred's Law, I would say. Right? I think I sum you up as correct. Very pro UK, very pro British law system, which obviously makes sense. It's kind of it's almost like a Durr thing to say. You like breathing, don't you? It's like saying that.
Yeah.
Any case. So we have discussed the issue of, I look at politics, I look at political figures, and I see selfish little children who just happen to be very good at manipulating people. Not everyone. I'm not saying, for instance, Donald Trump is a manipulator, or I enjoy Donald Trump. I like Donald Trump. I really respect him and appreciate everything he's doing for the Afrikaner, if nothing else. I really do appreciate that. But it seems a lot of politicians are just in it for the money, and they just don't care. The problem with that view is it seems to be very short-sighted. We've discussed before that keeping God's law right, is beneficial not just for other people but also for yourself. Right? If you don't see that, then you're blind, right?
Yeah.
So the politician seems to be very short-sighted and very blind. They do things, they make decisions. A lot of politicians across the globe make decisions based on what lines their pocket immediately, not thinking ahead of, listen, if I pass this legislation or allow this to happen, then my children and grandchildren might suffer under my choices, right? So they're thinking, the other thing is they seem to think, this is the idea I get, it seems that they think, well, if the popo really hits the fan, I can just escape elsewhere or go to some other country, maybe other continent, whatever, We're sitting with threats on our globe now that seem to minimize escape routes and safe spaces. It seems like we're running out of those. It seems like we're running out of safe spaces. So to go sit on an island and wish that a bomb doesn't fall on you it seems to be kind of like a pipe dream. Seems bombs are going to fall all over the globe. The rate things are going now. That's so. So, why do politicians? Why do they think like that? Why do they not see the bigger picture? What happened? What went wrong?
I suppose to answer that question in as few words as possible.
I hope it's longer than one sentence, because we.
Oh yeah, as few words as possible.
Trying for
typically about an hour.
Okay, long form. It's a long form.
Yeah.
Just so our single viewer likes to sit and that you use it as an ASMR video. So it's background noise while they're working. So just keep that in mind, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what it really boils down to, in my opinion, and I'm not really making a judgment about whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, but my analysis is that this is a consequence of the transition from government having been the responsibility of an inheriting ruling class, and it now being the responsibility of a political class, an elected political class. You see, in the old days, and again, whether or not that was a good thing, that's a matter of individual opinion. But in the old days, there were families that were educated to govern. So, for example, if your father was a lord in the House of Lords, you would be brought up with the expectation that you're going to be doing the same thing. And so a culture of thinking ahead and thinking about consequences was inculcated into those families from childhood. The difference you have today is that anybody can become a politician. That's one very significant difference. Another factor is that once they do become a politician, unless you live in Uganda, the chances are you can't do any useful work for more than 8 to 10 years, and then you've got to go. So then those are two very important factors. Limitations of terms. And then the third one is the influence of new money in legislation.
New money.
Yeah.
When I hear new money, I just see, rap music. The market has changed, the taste has changed, and therefore you're giving gaps to people who shouldn't be receiving gaps to make tons of money and corrupt other people. It's the same thing. You can literally, it's the same as in the music industry or any other industry for that matter. If there's a market for corruption, then there are individuals who are going to take advantage of it. So it's the same for if there's a market for people they want a god, then some individual says, I'll be your god.
Yeah.
Put your trust in me, right? It's politicians or some politicians.
But I think actually what I've said is quite obvious. Many people won't have opportunity to actually think it through because it's not their role. But if you do think about it for more than just a few minutes, it does become really obvious. Because think about the whole process of getting elected. So as a politician, your life is split into two phases. One is campaigning phase and the other is executive phase. So when you're campaigning, it's a popularity contest. So you're taught what to avoid saying. Even if you believe what you shouldn't say, you're taught how to hide those aspects of what you believe that are going to make you lose the popularity contest. Now, it might be that you know some things or understand some things that the people will only really maybe understand in 10, 15 years. But you have to hide that knowledge, because if you talk about it today, it's going to upset people and they're going to think you're strange. So they won't vote for you. So during that phase of the popularity contest, where you try very hard to be careful with your messaging, what you're essentially doing is similar to market research. You're working out what your market wants, and then you're delivering it. Now, of course, in campaigning, you're not delivering it. You work out early in your campaign phase what the people want, and then you deliver the messaging. But of course, there's a massive disconnect between the messaging you deliver towards the close of your campaigning phase, just before the election, and what you actually deliver in government. There's such a massive disparity that within politics, one of the most extraordinary phenomena, one of the most extraordinary phenomena, is the fact that people get lied to again and again at every election, and yet they still choose to think of promises that politicians make during campaign phase as in any way significant. Now, whatever you think of him, whether you're a fan or not, the only person I can really think of in Britain and America, which is the politics that I look at mostly, who bucks that trend is actually Donald Trump. Because, and I know there's a kind of an exception that some people are very upset with him about, with the war in Iran, because he stood on a platform of not involving American lives in other people's wars. And so that would be the exception, if indeed it is an exception, that we could discuss later perhaps. But absent that exception, he does tend to do pretty much whatever he's said he's going to do. So there isn't much of a disconnect. But as far as most politicians are concerned, they know that they don't even have the power to execute the promises that they offered the people during the campaign phase. So for a politician, it's really a matter, your career is very short-lived, and depending on what kind of role you have, how prominent you are, what kind of party you're with, you might have very limited career prospects after politics. So
you have to become a career politician.
Yeah,
it's like our Rolf Meyer, Afrikaans ook, who kind of, we don't like him, Afrikaner, he's not a friend of the Afrikaner, mostly, who actually admitted in one of his talks that sometimes a politician has to kind of lie. So situation ethics is a big thing with politicians.
Yeah.
Huge. It's, I mean, a lie every now and then, they think in terms of, well, let's weigh up what would be best for the people.
Yeah.
And I mean, I have a big problem with that. But in any case, that's...
Yeah, I mean, that's arguably an entirely self-contained topic for a podcast like this on its own. Situational ethics, whether politicians can always tell the truth, that kind of thing. But I'm not really kind of commenting on the moral aspect. I'm just really sharing my observations, which is that as a politician, if you get elected, you've got a very short amount of time and you've got to work very quickly. There's a kind of make hay while the sun shines attitude. So you can't really think in the long term because, again, unless you're in Uganda, you see, somebody like Museveni can plan what he's going to do over the course of 20 or 30 years. And sometimes that course involves doing things in the short to mid-term that would be democratically unpopular and cause you to get unelected. And then all the work that you had, the unpopular work that nobody really appreciated at an early stage, then becomes wasted because somebody else comes along who's won the popularity contest by pointing out how unpopular your decisions are, and who says, well, I'm going to do things that are going to be popular with you people. And this is the big problem. It's the problem with representative democracy.
And tying into that, this is also something we've discussed, is terms.
Yeah.
Term lengths.
Yes.
Which is a bizarre thing. It's a very bizarre thing.
It's illogical,
if somebody does a good job for 60 years,
Yeah.
Does it matter whether you like him or not? If he, I mean, what are the most basic functions of government? 2 or 3 things, right? Keep your citizens safe. What are the other main things?
Manage the economy.
Right?
Yeah.
And keep the infrastructure going, right?
Yeah.
So keep the tsotsis at bay, keep the roads, water and electricity, and make sure the economy is stable. Other than that, keep your finger out of the pie.
Yeah.
Almost like shut up and sit in the corner, and we'll call for you if we need you. Unless we call for you, just chill there. Do your thing. Grab a good salary if you want, as long as you do your job. That's pretty much it, right? So if that goes on for 30 years, 40, 60, 100, it doesn't matter, as long as the job gets done. So if Trump could do 20 years, and he does well, and he has these citizens' concerns at heart, what does it matter?
I can tell you it's a really flawed idea with a lot of rules. There's an intention behind it, but the outworking of the rule itself often militates against the principle that was being respected when that rule was made. So if you take a country, maybe I shouldn't mention the country, but if you think of a certain country somewhere roughly in the middle of Africa, you will find that a certain person has been president for a certain amount of time, and then they've been required to move on because they're going to exceed their term limits.
It's not Mexico, is it?
No, it's not. Okay. And then what happens is everybody who's involved in the administration knows that this person has eventually worked out what he's doing. He knows how to get the balance right between officiousness and rules and regulations and the kind of flexibility you need for an economy to function in Africa.
Just want to break in case our one viewer is Afrikaans. Officiousness, I think, is a different word for being efficient. Okay, as you were.
So what happens is that person takes a back seat and they continue to govern, but kind of Wizard of Oz style, from behind the curtain. And then the newbie who comes in, who hasn't got a clue, basically is just told what to do by that person who may have 10 years of governmental experience leading a government. And so eventually what happens is that people just become misled. And the whole process of how government actually operates is just obfuscated as a kind of unavoidable necessity to preserve some kind of semblance of sticking to the rules. So we have the same thing in the United Kingdom, but not in the sense that somebody who led a government now, well, except with somebody like Tony Blair, arguably he is still heavily influential in how government is run under Labour right now. And he stopped being Prime Minister, I don't remember how long ago, 15, 20 years ago, roughly, something like that.
Yeah, it's long ago.
But what you actually have in the UK, because you cannot possibly run a country for a year or two and be an expert on running a country and then do a phenomenal job for the remaining 3 years. Running a country is quite complicated and requires experience. So what happens is that when people get control of government overtly, there's the semblance of being in control, they actually sit down and are briefed by somebody who tells them how things are, how things work, and what they need to do. They write their briefing notes for them, they might even write little speeches for them, and they all sit around a table, and nobody really has an opinion, not because they're spineless or stupid, but because nobody has experience. I mean, imagine walking into a new job. Imagine
in Florida.
For example, okay, imagine
new job in Florida.
You fly to Florida, and you are a nice guy. You go and talk to the people in the community.
Can you say that again?
Yeah, and then the people say, Yancey, is a nice guy. We want Yancey.
Joe.
We want Joe.
Joe Blum.
To be we want Joe to be the CEO of this company. Okay.
Thank you.
And so now you've got.
Can we add some clapping in the background?
Yeah, we can do that.
We should do that. Okay.
Do that.
Yeah.
And so now you walk into this building, you go up to the top floor. There's a conference room with a walnut table, nicely polished, and people standing around.
Is there some sort of a keto-friendly sweetie or something?
Yeah. That's right.
Cream coffee? Not creamer.
No.
Real cream and coffee.
Straight from the car.
Thank you.
Yeah, and,
I love this job already.
So now you walk in there and you sit down at the head of a table and you've got all these people who have been working for this company for years. And they say, okay, so Joe, what's the plan? And now you have to tell all these people how to better do their job than they're doing, because they got rid of the last CEO because he didn't perform. Now,
and I've got a week. It's like telling me you have a week. Turn around.
Yeah, that's right. Now,
are you even serious? Okay. I don't want the job anymore. I'll take the keto cookies, if you don't mind. But I'll just grab a packet of that, but I'm out of here.
And so any sensible person listening to this would know that would be an absurd scenario to put a person into. And yet that's exactly what happens in government.
Yeah, because a week, 4 years, whatever, it's the same thing. In the bigger scheme of things, 4 years is nothing. Even 8 years, even in consecutive terms, it's nothing. It's really... But, however, I do want to say, it's very interesting if you look at how quickly South Africa was built up, okay, and how quickly it's been run down. It is possible to ruin a country in 30 years with bad ideology. I don't want to say bad policy, because what runs the ANC is ideology. And I think a lack of never mind. In any case, so it is very possible to, something that takes a long time to build up, you can destroy in a very short time. Because there's nothing left of South Africa.
No, but
not much in any case.
Let's assume your governmental model is kind of predicated on a desire not to destroy your country and just kind of quickly milk it for everything it's worth as quickly as possible. Because although politicians are generally looking out for their own interests, nonetheless, there are safeguards in place, like the one we're just talking about. The fact that you can't just go in there and do whatever you like, because you are pretty much told how things work and what to do. So the Prime Minister, well, if you like, he's your CEO in this boardroom meeting in the analogy. So he'll sit down with various ministers, so like cabinet secretaries, but also permanent secretaries. But the permanent secretaries are more permanent than the cabinet secretaries. A cabinet secretary might say something ill-advised, and then next week he's gone. Or he might be the figurehead for a department that needs to do something draconian, and so he's chosen simply because he looks nice and soft, or he's hard to attack. So for example, in the United Kingdom, if you look at every single head of the Home Office in the United Kingdom, going back probably as long as you can remember, they will all, without exception, be one of the following: female, ethnic minority, or disabled. Because when you want somebody to make decisions that could be very unpopular and could attract accusations of the government being draconian, like, for example, limiting the number of foreign people who can come into your country, that looks like a very dangerous political philosophy. It looks elitist, it looks racist. So if you're going to adopt a tough line on immigration, you need to ensure that you have somebody there that's hard to attack. You definitely don't want a tall, strong-looking white Anglo-Saxon Protestant male. Do you see what I mean? You want somebody that...
Those white supremacist bastards.
Yeah,
you want somebody like
right.
that. Because, the guy is a male, so obviously, and he's white, so he's obviously got all sorts of isms.
And so I think a lot of people, including people who stand for office, don't actually understand how government functions until they're there. And then once they're there, they still don't understand how it actually functions. But what they do understand is that they're not a part of how it functions. You understand? And it has to be that way, because what we have is, and it's logically provable, it is just a charade to provide the impression that we are democratically governed. But if we were governed in the way that the people, and I'm not insulting them, most people just don't have even 15 minutes in their busy schedules to think about the process of government. But if people had a chance to think about it, and you asked them, so do you really think that somebody who may not have any professional qualifications at all, you don't have to have any qualifications to be a member of Parliament in the United Kingdom. None at all. And so somebody who may not have any professional qualifications, any kind of background in any kind of subject that relates to the department that they are now the head of, would you even like to be in a situation where that person, brand new to the job with no experience, no relevant education, is now making decisions that that department is going to execute throughout the country, and you are going to experience the consequences of those decisions? Anyone who had more than 5 minutes to think about that would probably say, actually, no, I don't want that. So the question is, well, what do you want? The alternative is, do you want unelected people who are unaccountable, who can't easily lose their jobs, who are working behind closed doors, literally? Do you want those people to be making the decisions? And the answer is, well, no, that's not democratic. Where's the democratic control? Do you see what I mean? So you have a kind of dichotomy where if the people are confronted with the truth, and I'm not talking about any weird conspiracy, I'm talking about the logical necessity that anybody would conclude if they thought about it for more than 5 minutes. You have a dichotomy where nobody actually wants the truth, and nobody, if really given the opportunity to think about it, genuinely believes the lie that they're presented with, that these people in suits are actually making the decisions that affect your life. Do you see what I mean? Now, within that context of how modern representative democracy works, think about your role as a politician. You might, within your community, have a genuine desire to make things better for people. You might have done well. And now, you've got a house, you've got cars, you've got family, you've got plenty of money to retire on, and you want to give something back to your community. So you think, well, there are a few things that are happening in my community that I think need to be challenged. So I'm going to stand up and represent my community and fight for them. And that's a noble motivation. But once you get yourself elected, you win that popularity contest and you go into government and you say, okay, so come on, let's make some good decisions. Let's change the way things are done. You realize you don't actually have any power. Do you see what I mean? In terms of the executive, in terms of how government actually is prosecuted, you don't have any power at all. So what can you do? All you can do is just make more rules. You can just write more laws. And generally speaking, when you look at, like I was explaining earlier, the more rules you have, the more opportunity you are creating to advantage people who are very proficient at bending or circumventing rules. if people are getting lost with that, just have a look at tax. Okay, so your ordinary, fair-minded, hard-working, let's use the UK example because it's a less dysfunctional system than in South Africa. It's been going on for a long time, pretty much along the same lines. So your average hard-working, honest British person.
The man on the Clapham omnibus.
That's the one, yeah. If you asked him, should wealthy people have to pay more tax than poor people, he would probably say, well, yeah, I mean, that's fair. Even if you pay a flat rate, they're going to pay more, okay? So whether or not they should pay a higher percentage of a larger amount, or whether they should simply pay a larger amount because they're paying the same percentage of a larger amount that they're earning, nonetheless, the consensus would probably be that the wealthier you are, the more you should pay in tax. You've been blessed with more, so you ought to give more back. Okay. And so governments will make pledges, manifesto pledges, campaign promises to win that popularity contest, to get elected. They'll make promises that they're going to ensure that the wealthy, the privileged, those who have been blessed more, should contribute more so that there are more resources to share with those who are suffering and those who have less. Okay? And there are different kinds of subdivisions within that argument, but that would be the general consensus. And so, look what happens. Governments will make laws on, for example, corporate tax, company tax. And so a government might say, well, companies should pay 25%, for example. If you get a Conservative government, they might bring the 20 down to 17 or something like that. And then small businesses applaud them and they say, that's great, that's going to stimulate the economy, create jobs, reduce the cost of living, all that kind of thing. Whereas if you get a socialist government, they'll say, no, companies are taking the mickey and hiding income in company profits and using dividend systems and whatnot.
We need to pause there. This taking the mickey, right?
Yeah.
How many mickeys are there and where are those mickeys taken?
No, there's an unlimited supply of mickeys that can be taken.
And where do they take them, though? I mean,
Well, it's
another discussion, I suppose.
No. Technically, you borrow a mickey. You never really own a mickey.
Oh.
Yeah, so you take it, you use it, and then
you
it just
return it.
reverts to where it was.
Okay,
previously,
right.
yeah.
Okay, it's shown to. I hear these weird British
Okay.
terms, and I just wonder sometimes.
I understand.
Yeah.
So a government will legislate for higher taxes. Now, why will they do that? Because your average person earns less than the average wage. They'll earn the modal wage, but they'll earn less than the average wage. So if, for people who can't remember what they learned in statistics about modes and medians and averages, so if you've got a population of 30 million earners, then you might have 20 million people who are earning less than what would be the average if you added up everyone's income and divided it by the number of people that there are. And so the consensus in a democratic population tends to be to want to tax those people who have substantially more than your average person. But those people also don't really understand, not because they're stupid, but simply because it's not a normal part of their daily decision-making responsibility to have to look at all the facts and make decisions on them, like it is the job of people who own big business and their lawyers that help them get advantage. So let's just look at this. So a socialist government might increase company tax to 25%, for example. And so what then happens is all the small and medium-sized companies that are incorporated exclusively domestically, so for example, British companies with British owners that don't have any business outside Britain, they can't escape that 25% company tax. So what's going to happen is obvious. If all companies are taxed similarly, they're all going to have to increase their prices, which means that the people who use those companies are all going to have to pay more, which means that they end up paying more money out of their income, which means you might as well just tax them. Do you see what I mean? Unless you have certain exempt categories that only poor people, or of things that only poor people buy, but it's very hard to find categories of things that only poor people buy. So the net effect of taxing companies is to actually essentially increase the proportion of income that poor people get that goes to the government. You see, you just get poor people to pay your taxes. Now, the wonderful thing for multinationals, and this is a real gift to them, is that if you're taxing companies, you're taxing companies' profits. And so if now your company has foreign representation, you can control whatever profit your company makes within any given country by determining the rate at which you sell goods or services to yourself from another jurisdiction where tax is more favorable. Do you see? And so if you have another jurisdiction that's less concerned about winning popularity contests and convincing poor people to vote for them, what they'll do is they will structure their tax regime in such a way as to incentivize you as the owner of a multinational business entity to incorporate there in that country. Now, in case anyone's losing this, so let's imagine, for example, that you produce these, you being an international concern, and let's say you buy them in China, okay, and you'll buy them very cheaply in China, and you'll sell them expensively in Britain. Now, if the government makes the laws in Britain such that domestically incorporated companies have to pay a lot of tax on profit, it's not in your interest to make a lot of profit on this. So what are you going to do? Well, it's obvious. You'll find an intermediate jurisdiction and you'll sell from China. So instead of selling from China straight to Britain, you'll find another jurisdiction here. So if this costs you £10 to get made in China and you want to sell it for £100 in Britain, all you'll do is get this company to buy it for £10 from China, and then this company will sell it to the British company for £90.
But this company belongs to you.
That's right, yes, yes. And so now, the difference between what you bought it for and what you sold it for is actually £80, and you choose to incorporate this company in a tax-free jurisdiction because these people don't have to perform that charade because they don't have those same democratic concerns that you have in Britain. So now you can genuinely, honestly, truthfully, morally declare that your British company purchased this for £90 and you're selling it for £100. So you make £10 profit and you pay £1.70, or if it's 20%, you pay £2.
And you're not lying.
Yeah. No.
That's all this.
That's right.
This company is making, but the middle company also belongs to you, so you're actually making a ton of money.
That's right.
And this is all okay. To me, it's look. We're not allowed to say "ching chong cha" apparently in the US. you have to use the term rock paper scissors. In South Africa, we're not that sensitive. So we can say ching chong cha. It sounds to me like there's a lot of ching chong chaing or rock paper scissoring going on. We'll bring in a law. Okay, well, what law are we gonna? Let's play rock paper scissors. And then there's a counter to that. So there's a lot of ping ponging all the time, right?
Yeah.
To use another American term for something that's actually table tennis.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ping ponging going on.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of clever guys at the table. A lot of clever guys at the table. And there's a lot of people who fall for a lot of tricks because they either get exasperated with the whole game of politics, the man on the Clapham bus, the omnibus, or he's greedy.
Yeah.
It's one of those two things. He's either just bogged down by all of the stuff that he doesn't understand, and he just wants to get on with life and pay as little as possible to make his way, or he's greedy, which is definitely because people think poor people can't be greedy, but it's definitely a case that poor people can be super greedy, right? The man who wants what he cannot have is as greedy as the man who can get whatever he wants and gets it just because he wants it. So there's no difference in your attitude. Yeah. So to me, this is very complex stuff. But there's a lot of clever people who know how to play the game. And so you got to be careful what you wish for, right?
Yes.
You got to be careful what you wish for. If you're the man on the Clapham omnibus, or in our case, the man on the donkey cart in Main Street, whatever, you got to be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of people rubbing their hands together, waiting for you to make what you consider is the right move, and they're just kind of ready to pounce. But this is what you wanted. Yeah. Remember? You voted for this.
And they don't even hide it. If you interview super wealthy people about taxes, they will happily go on record saying, yes, I think we should pay more. They're not going to pay more. They know how they're not going to pay more. But they will use their influence to create this narrative that, if even the rich people think things have gone too far, then yes, we definitely need tax reform. But what they're doing in that interview is wiping out their competition, So,
and people fall for this.
Yeah,
I find it astounding when I watch interviews with the man on the street. When it comes to, or even you look at some online comments when it comes to voting time, how people time and time again think that some other human or government is going to save them from themselves almost.
Yeah.
And from the world troubles. I find it fascinating how people...
Yeah. But I think your question actually went quite a lot deeper than we've really touched on. I kind of detected an element in your question.
How much time do we have left? Remember, I need to go fetch my...
now. Yeah,
so I need to go fetch my shoes, so we have a few more minutes.
Yeah. So...
Did I just say that on camera? Oh.
So there was an element in your question, I think, which was essentially asking, why would politicians make such bad decisions that are bad for everyone, including ultimately themselves?
Or their children, or their grandchildren.
Yeah. And so I'd go back to what I said at the very beginning, and that is a culture of decision-making. You see, those people, like back in the old days, where you had an aristocracy,
That's bad.
Yeah. So I'm not speaking about them in a kind of a lauding way. L-A-U-D. I'm not lauding lords.
Yeah.
But I'm just dealing with the logic. You see, if they didn't have to impress anybody, then the ruling class could get away with making decisions that in the short term were unpopular, but that produced long-term positive benefit for their country. Now, people would wonder, well, why would they want to produce long-term benefit if they're the decision makers? Why would they want to benefit their country? Why would they not just want to benefit themselves? Well, if somebody is very good at securing their own best interests. They've worked out that their own best interests are best secured if they are on top of a big heap than if they're at the top of a little heap. So if they make decisions that destroy their national credibility and prospects and resources and reputation.
Wow, did you read the manifesto of the ANC? Is that was...
Well, yeah, this is the thing. You see, when I look at a country like South Africa, I find the government is remarkably humble.
Yeah, they are very humble
yes,
people.
They are, because they are content to be like a big fish in a tiny little pond.
And I mean, they literally, they're selling their pond every year, or they're selling a portion of their pond to a land builder, and the pond is getting smaller and smaller and smaller.
That's right.
These poor guys are going to suffocate.
You see,
they are super humble.
Yeah, I think they just got a culture of sharing with their compound, their village, whatever it is. Whereas we kind of dastardly, conniving Westerners, we're too ambitious for that.
Yeah.
Yes,
so, we want seriously big ponds.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah, so we can really benefit.
That's it.
Yeah.
And so with an aristocracy, and sometimes they become so decadent that they lose their capacity for judgment, like happened in France in the 18th century, where in the end their own people wiped them out. Now, I'm not saying they should have wiped them out, because that looked quite murderous. But
I'll tell you one thing though, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times.
Yeah, it was the best of times in Britain, it was the worst of times in France, actually. So certainly it is possible for a ruling class to really take the mickey. Do you see?
Did the Mickeys go back that far?
They did, yeah. There were Mickeys as long as we have recorded history.
Okay, well, let's two more things. Does Disney benefit from Mickeys being taken?
I would say Disney is quite a Mickey taker itself.
Yeah. All right. The other thing is, are those Mickeys also fine, they blow my mind?
No, those are actually a different kind of Mickey, because these Mickeys are not fine at all. They're far from fine. Okay,
that kind of clears it up, hopefully, on the issue of Mickeys. Yes. I don't think we have anything more on that. Okay, yes, sorry, you were saying?
So it is certainly true that a ruling class can become decadent and stupid, but one that is good at securing its own long-term self-interest generally makes decisions that keep that country in as good condition as possible, so that they can derive personal benefit for their families from a country that's at the top, not at the bottom.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's the opposite of mutually assured destruction. Do you see? So, and I'm not advocating aristocracy. I'm quite the opposite, in the sense that I'm a proponent of direct democracy. That's decentralized power down to the lowest possible level.
It's like the Bitcoin of governance.
That's right. And so, but I'm just looking at the logic of why representative democracy doesn't work, and how it's exacerbated by that short-termism.
Whoa. Exacerbated?
Yeah.
So I've been saying exacerbated for 48 years.
Oh, wow.
Have I got this? What is?
Well, it depends. If you were like practicing living in America, you might want to say exacerbated.
I'll stick with exacerbated.
Sure. Yeah.
Thanks.
But we British people say exacerbated.
Exacerbated. Yeah.
So so it's exacerbated by the short-termism of election cycles and popularity contests. And so, I mean, just for example, what is going to get a government elected faster? Saying we're going to make things really hard and unpleasant for you for 5 to 10 years, but after that, your children will have no more debt and you'll all be healthier, or, well, we're going to give you free stuff and reduce your taxes and just borrow money from our grandchildren, who'll probably just be spoiled brats anyway, and they deserve it. Do you see what I mean? And so governments keep borrowing money in order to win popularity contests. So you'll often see that in the last 2 years of an electoral cycle, governments will borrow a massive amount of money and spend a lot of money because we don't suffer.
Again, it's like everybody's just playing a huge game of rock, paper, scissors, and whatever goes. If you've got rock and you got paper, you beat rock, and if you got scissors, you beat paper. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
That's it.
In any case,
And so again, if you look at the kind of culture of the aristocracy in Britain, the reason it's relevant is because we're trying to contrast people who inherited power versus those who win popularity contests and have the semblance of power for a very short period of time. It's relevant to look at what were the kind of guiding kind of principles that formed aristocratic culture. And what you would find is that, let's say they all went to a certain kind of school. They'd be woken up early in the morning. They'd have to run however many kilometers. They'd have cold showers. They'd be beaten. And they'd have a very stringent level of discipline.
And then mommy and daddy won't run to school if they are disciplined.
No, because they wouldn't see their mommy or daddy for like 3 months.
Poor little mommy. Poor little Charlie's getting disciplined, so daddy has to come in and sort out the teacher, who's obviously a big bad wolf.
Yeah, and I'm not saying these were perfect places at all. I mean, my grandparents, I heard things that happened at their boarding schools that I don't think are in any way wholesome. My own mother being sent to boarding school when she was 6 years old and not really understanding why and having any kind of conversation, I think was very upsetting, needlessly upsetting for her, and really didn't benefit her. But she was female. I mean, it was a new thing to, educate females. Well,
I'm glad your mom was female.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, it's a very necessary event. But you get the point that if you are brought up, and I mean, if you take it to the very top, of course, the kind of upper middle class, who were, that the ruling class, so the ruling class was a combination of aristocracy and upper ruling class. And so, upper middle class. So upper middle class were treated like this, but at the very top, they weren't even beaten because there was something considered much worse. I don't know if you know the British cultural history of the whipping boy. It's spoken about. Everyone knows about the whipping boy, but maybe they don't really think about.
Forster said to William F. Buckley Jr. in his interview, he doesn't understand why the Afrikaner is the whipping boy of the world when it came to apartheid, because he pointed out to William F. Buckley that, listen, you guys do the same thing. The Jim Crow laws, all of that, same thing. Why is South Africa the whipping boy? Now, I'm not saying the Afrikaners were right or wrong. That's not my point. My point is there were atrocities committed along the same lines, even far worse, on the very continent where apartheid was being perpetrated. Far worse. Yet everybody's attention was on this tiny little nation who had atomic power. Makes you think. This tiny little nation where the first heart transplant took place. Makes you think about these things. So the whipping boy issue, I know the term. I don't know where it's from though.
Okay, so let's imagine that you do something naughty as a child. Okay, traditionally, what would happen is you'd be caned, and you wouldn't want to do the thing again because you're not stupid. You don't enjoy pain, so you associate pain with the wrong choice. Now, at the very top level, so for example, members of the royal family, they would not be beaten. So what would happen instead is they would call a whipping boy in, and if, let's say you were a prince and you did something selfish or wrong, or you were disobedient, then whoever would tell you, your governor, whatever, would tell you, no, just stand there and watch. And they'd bring this innocent boy who had done nothing wrong, deliberately, because if he's done something wrong, it doesn't make sense. And then you would watch him be beaten for your wrongdoing. Do you see? And the consequence of that is that you would learn that, hang on a moment, if I do wrong, it's not me who suffers.
Some innocent person.
That's it, yeah. So you have this culture that was inculcated into a certain class that was, kind of born into leadership. And, you don't have to say this is a good thing or a bad thing, but the fact is, historically, it was a thing. Nowadays, it's not. Nowadays, you can just be a smooth talker, too lazy to do proper work, and you can get a salary of £60,000-70,000 a year doing almost nothing. So you stand for election and you become a member of parliament. And then you still don't have to do anything because you're not competent enough to do anything. You're just told what to say, what to do. People write their speeches for you. That's what government has become. Do you see what I mean? So I would say that is why people in government make such bad decisions. They've got to get what they can while they can, because once they leave that role, no one's going to want to give them a job. So they need to accumulate and make friends. It's like that parable of that person who was going to get sacked. So he quickly called all his bosses' debtors and said, how much do you owe? And they said, 100, no, write 50, 20, no, write 10, to make friends with all of those people. Because the moment you're gone, you need friends.
You need friends. You need to have done a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Favors.
That's
favors.
right. Yeah.
Politics has become a game of favors.
It has to be.
Yeah. But okay. So let's conclude this, because I have to, I said, I have to leave. Not necessarily to fetch my shoes, but it might be that. So when it comes down to, politicians are humble. They're too humble, and that's why they ruin things, because they don't think long term. This is a curse. I mean, you can see that even in the way we consume.
Yeah.
Everything's our capacity is shortened. We don't. I can't stand it. But everything. You see people zombie scroll. I can't do it. I just cannot do it. It's zombie scroll through these shorts.
Yeah.
I know people who do. They sit and do that all day.
Wow.
How can you would bore me to do? I mean, I can't do that. Give me a novel or some theological book or something. But in any case, so that's what politicians are doing. They're zombie scrolling through life, basically, and they're humble enough to sit on a heap of ashes.
Yeah.
That's
why if you're genuinely ambitious and you get into government, you're dangerous, and people want to get rid of you very quickly.
Get rid of you, because you think long term. Yeah. You don't love yourself enough.
No.
Well, no. The short-term guy doesn't love himself enough.
I thought that's what you meant. Yeah.
Yeah. The long-term guy loves himself enough to want the good of others so that he may benefit from it.
That's right.
I think we just blew our viewers' mind. That single viewer's mind is absolutely blown now. I think so. I think maybe we can have like a, I don't know, atom bomb exploding in the background.
Mushroom cloud.
Mushroom.
Yeah.
Maybe even some sound effect there. In any case, thanks, John. That was a really good talk. I really enjoyed that one. And thank you, single viewer, for tuning in again. And next time then, eh?